Hi, welcome to another edition of Resonate with Edgehill and Davis. I'm Owen Edgehill.
And I'm Davey Davis.
How you doing, man?
Yeah.
Who sings that?
I don't know. I was just doing that because it's like... A friend of mine said, you know, at the beginning of your podcast, there's all this bro thing going on.
Right.
I said, forget all that, just give me a hug. When I saw him.
Right, okay.
I said, well, what's wrong with it? He said, no, he said, it's good, but just give me a hug.
It'd be a bit awkward if we stood up and give each other a hug.
Yeah.
Probably fall over the table.
That would happen.
Trip up or something.
That would happen. Our heads would be cut off the camera.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why we do it. But we do it anyway,
There's
don't we?
your answer. Here's your answer.
All good?
Yeah, do you know what?
I thought you was going to say better than good then, D.
No, that's all. Yeah, that's yesterday.
Right.
Yeah, all good. You know, you get your crazy moments. Mm-hmm. I was in the car.
Right.
That means I'm in the car.
So you drive like that and you steering wheel?
So I drive, yeah.
Okay. I thought you'd be one of them, man.
In the summer.
Okay, cool.
Because my hand's out, yeah. You can see me all the time. The white man Van Tan I've got.
Yeah.
Yeah, driving a car. Some guy just cut in front of me, just cut me up. And immediately I've got that rage. And I think I'm going to put my foot down and get right at the back. And then I thought, what's the point? Why? Just let him do his thing. But it's just that split second. Mm. And you know what? And then he started to bob, weave, and he was in and out of traffic, bobbing. This guy's crazy.
Yeah.
And I was off to Poole, and Poole's a relatively straight road. Where we go to Poole, it's just a straight road. And we're off to a lake, Poole Park.
Right.
And we got to the dual carriageway. We passed Asda's, got to the dual carriageway, and he's zooming off again. I think, what an idiot. And I just thought, we got to a set of a roundabout, and I actually was in line with him. I'm thinking, well, you've not got very far, buddy, have you, really?
There you go.
And then what happened was, he veered off. Before that happened, because I kind of looked at him, I looked at him that side, I looked at him as if to say, well, I'm now level with you, so what was the point? And he looked at me, and he just gave me this dirty look. And as soon as he could go again, he was off, in and out of people.
Right.
So it's crazy. What is your problem?
Right.
Then he veered off, and then we just carried on to our destination.
Me.
And I just thought to myself,
What's your point? What
was the point?
And what's your point?
So my point, the reason why I kind of thought to myself, if I'd have put my foot down, I wanted to then race him, I'd have thought to myself, I could have done that. But when I got to the destination, it's like a cul-de-sac. And on that cul-de-sac, there's about 3 or 4 cars parked, really tight, in front of the houses. It's a really tight parking space. So what you've got to do is to turn around to get out of the cul-de-sac. You've got to do like a 3-point turn.
Right.
So when I got to the cul-de-sac, all the cars were just jam-packed. I thought, I'm going to have to reverse out now. But as I drove in, I could see some guy just got into his car. And then I thought, oh, brilliant. So I just got on the verge. He then was able to get out, because it's literally one car at a time. He was unable to get out, and guess what? I slipped in that parking space. And I thought to myself, had I put my foot down, if I did what I originally wanted to do, which is to show him I can,
Right.
I probably wouldn't have got that parking space.
Indeed.
And sometimes we go through life, don't we?
Yeah.
On that path of
head
down, totally focused, rushing around, and things then don't materialise the way we want them to materialise. And I know it's just a simple thing, but if I just I carried on the way I carried on, which was fine. I managed to get that parking space. And I'm not saying just it's a little thing, but I've heard people that have gone to airports that have missed the plane, and that plane has... You hear these stories,
Yeah, you do, yeah. Yeah. Good
Sometimes certain things are meant to be. So if someone cuts you up, what I'm trying to say is, if someone cuts you up, you think it's going to ruin your day, it's not. Somewhere along the line is going to make it a better day.
Good point.
Possibly, so just relax. So that was my week. That was one incident in my week.
Cool.
So I'd share it.
Thanks for sharing it, man. Oh, good. So there you go.
How was yours?
All right. Yeah. Like I said on a previous episode, all right doesn't necessarily mean fantastic. All right could just mean I got through it. And yeah, got through it last week. Good. Cool.
That's all we need to do, isn't it?
Indeed.
Get through it. Best we can.
Hi to everyone out there.
Hello.
Hope all's well with you. Good to see you all again. I want to talk about a comment that a subscriber made to us. I'm not going to tell you the actual title of it. But anyway, thank you, Lorraine, for that. Well done, and thank you for your comments. Thank you very much. And she mentioned, could we talk about it? And this thing, I would say, is the reason why relationships break down. Excuse me. Marriages fail. Businesses fail. To a degree, a person's health fails. It causes a lot of problems to a lot of people. You alluded to it in your example of how your week was with the guy in the car. What do you think it is? What do you think it is?
So much of that could be... I'm not even going to try and think, because it could be a multitude of things.
Okay. So Lorraine asked us to talk about the ego.
Okay.
Okay.
Relate to the car, but yeah.
Right. So when you was talking about that, that's what was going through my mind. I thought, yeah, massive ego. And that ego could have got him into some serious trouble.
Could have got me into serious trouble as well, yeah.
Well, it wasn't because you weren't using your ego, he was.
But my initial...
Your initial was, but then you saw sense and didn't use it. But the point I'm trying to make is, his ego could have got in some serious trouble. So you could have been a different person that you are. A madhead. A real sick case of a man, right? And that happened, and then all of a sudden, you said he was in and out.
Yeah.
You could have been in and out. All of a sudden, you park up, you get out of the car, and you start rolling around, and one of you could have got killed. And the root cause of that, D, would have been ego. The root cause of it. And so to connect it with what Lorraine mentioned in her comments in terms of getting us to talk about it, as I mentioned, we've all got an ego, some greater than others. But I think the smaller the ego only comes through doing the inner work, a person doing the inner work on themselves so they can be conscious of that ego. Because if we're not doing the inner work and therefore we're not conscious of the ego, then the ego is just playing itself out all the time. And so, for me, I just want to have a conversation with you and yourself, D, about how destructive that ego is. Most people, to one degree or another, have said, I've read and I've heard, that sometimes the ego is a good thing. It's good to have an ego and stuff, but from what I've now come to the conclusion of, it's not good to have that ego at all. This is just my opinion. It'd be great to get your views on your views, D, as always. Because as I mentioned, it's the cause of wars. You're ex-military. You can concur with that. So if you think about it, a group of people in a war room, take for example, banging the desk, yeah, I think we should go for this and I think we should do that. What's driving that person? It's the ego, isn't it, right? Right.
It's all those medals.
Right, it's the ego. And then as a result of that ego, people get killed. As a result of that higher powered person banging the desk and saying, right, I think we should do this and I think we should do that. And everybody else around them says, yeah, I think we should do it. And then they go and do it. So that in a relationship, whether it's business, platonic or romantic, some person who's got their ego thinks that they're better than the other person in that relationship, exerts their ego, and all of a sudden the business crumbles because of that person's ego. Mm-hmm. In a romantic relationship, some person's got a higher ego than the other person, wants to dominate the other person. Again, that's the reason for the split. So it affects a whole host of things on the everyday level, also on the higher level as well, D. And I just want to get your take on it in terms of what you think and how you look at that particular thing called the ego.
Okay. I'm trying to relate it to a sport, because we've had outside of the studio, we've had this conversation before in relation to ego, and I'll take you back to the gentleman, and some ladies will kind of understand this if you're interested in football. Eric Cantona. A lot of people say he had a lot of ego because he used to walk around with his collar up.
Can I just interject there? Let me interject 1 second, because I want you to, instead of using Eric Cantona, use Mike Tyson, because it's prominent this week, isn't it? It's been prominent. Use him. Now I know I'm putting you on the spot, but use him.
Okay, use Mike Tyson. So he was involved with a fight with a YouTuber.
Right.
For a lot of money.
Right.
Reportedly $20 million.
Right.
To have this fight with a YouTuber who apparently got paid $40 million. So there's a lot of money involved in that. And I looked at, on a personal note, that particular fight as an ex-champion of the world, youngest champion of the world, at 20 years old, back in the day, to fight this YouTube guy who's only been boxing for, he's had 19 professional fights. And everyone with this Jake Paul chappie, YouTuber, believe that he's in it just for money. And Tyson could have been it because he's 58 years old. He's nearly 60, and yet he's fighting a 26-year-old. Is that because of his ego that thought, you know what, I'm going to whoop this guy at 27, or is that because of the money?
What do you think?
I think both.
Right.
I think both. Because when you are a professional sportsman, if you are an individual that believes in yourself, forget about the professional sportsman. If you're an individual that believes in yourself, now whether that be in a relationship, whether that be, as you say, platonic, or otherwise, the facts are, you believe that you are possibly better than anyone else. You believe that you're possibly a better work colleague than anyone else.
Right.
You believe that in that relationship, you're the one that's holding this relationship together. In a business meeting, you believe that your idea is better than anyone else's. Whatever it may be. So your ego takes over.
Right.
Because you've put yourself on this pedestal, and other people may have put you on this pedestal as well. So it's kind of thinking, well, yeah, you read when you read, well, this guy's a superb football player, this person's a wonderful swimmer, whatever it may be, you actually believe in all of those things. And instead of having your feet on the ground, your ego overtakes you.
Right.
And with the Tyson incident, maybe his ego overtook him thinking, well, I'm Mike Tyson. I'm going to beat this guy anyway. Or I'm Mike Tyson. I need this money for my family. How do you kind of put the ego aspect to it? How do you kind of put that to bed where it's very difficult? Because I think...
You love that word, don't you, D? Difficult.
It is difficult because I think ego is an element of confidence, which is where I was going with Cantona. I believed he was confident rather than egoistic.
Right.
And I believe Tyson is also very confident rather than egoistic. And that's why I think it's difficult to have that divide of fine line, ego and confidence.
Right.
I think emotional intelligence, if you let your emotions go high,
Yeah.
that's not intelligent. You have to control it.
Yeah.
And therefore, there's an element of controlling your ego because we're all egoistic. That incident with the car, my ego immediately took over when I saw this guy pull in front of me.
Right.
It was, I want to get my own back.
Right.
But then emotional intelligence said to me, hang on a minute, what's the point?
Right.
Why would you want to do that? So I kind of thought, well, I'm confident enough to get from A to B. I don't need to show him anything. I don't need to prove anything.
So my question then, good examples, my question would be, if you're not emotionally sophisticated, emotionally intelligent, you're not really good at regulating your emotions,
Yeah.
therefore, you're always going to be in your ego. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Right. And so, because you're not able to regulate your emotions and as a result you're in your ego, then that individual's got to understand that sooner rather than later, they're going to destroy themselves. Whatever they're building, whether it's a relationship, they're married, platonic, they're in a friendship, that relationship is going to crumble because of that individual's ego somewhere along the line. So therefore, and I would say the vast majority of people are in this situation, D, where they're governed by their ego. And that's why, and I thought you'd come back on that, but I mentioned wars and stuff like that, that's primarily why things happen in this sick society that I would call it, to the detriment, I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Because the people at the back of it, the people who are driving it, are egoistic to the point where they've lost sense of who they are because they're not conscious of who they are.
And they're allowing the emotions to take over.
They're allowing the emotions to take over.
Rather than the rational...
Yeah, and therefore, everyone who's a part of that gets the brunt of it.
They suffer.
They suffer from it. So that's the key for me. It's a case of actually looking at ourselves, warts and all, being honest with ourselves and thinking in that moment, was I using my ego? Yeah, I was. And what could it have done if I would have carried on in that situation? Or what happened as a result of being in that ego? So I think the root cause of all evil, say money is the root cause of evil, I would say and suggest ego is the root cause of all evil, or all evil. That's what I would say.
And having that lack of emotional intelligence.
Yeah. If you're in ego, you're going to be in evil.
Yeah.
There's no separation, D. Now, people can say, yeah, but you need a certain bit of ego to... I'm not convinced. And maybe people are convinced that I don't know. And this would be good to get your views on it. But I'm thinking ego represents or equals evil to me because you're not in control of yourself.
So can I go back to Cantona?
Of course you can. Go back to Cantona, yeah. Yeah, I love Cantona.
Because those people that are kind of, I say old enough, I'm going to say wise enough to have seen the incident where he did that kung fu kick.
Right.
Because everyone, before that happened, everyone thought Cantona's got ego. So what happened, if those of you that don't know, during a football match, Eric Cantona from Manchester United got sent off. And the reason why he got sent off was someone abused him, not him personally, but apparently what came out eventually is he abused his mother. And that's when Cantona clicked. And some chap in the crowd said something else about his mother as he was walking off, and he just flew into the crowd, didn't he?
Yeah.
With his boots, did this guy a kung fu kick. Should never have happened. Should never have come to that. So when people say Cantona was egoistic, at that particular moment, he'd lost his emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
So he was out of control, as you say. That control aspect is so important to the ego, because we've all got an element of ego in us. But how do we control that? We control it emotionally.
Right.
And at that time, he didn't.
So his ego was the common denominator in that situation.
Obviously, yeah.
Regardless of whether that person abused his mother or what,
Yeah.
his ego then contributed to him going into the crowd and kung fuing that guy.
Yeah.
And then the rest is history.
The rest was history.
And that's the point. That's the point. I think that's the point that Lorraine's making in terms of bringing it up as a topic of conversation about the ego.
And how many people suffered because of that?
Yeah. Well, the whole team suffered because he was out for
suffered.
9 games or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And that's primarily because in that moment we were in control. Now we get out of control, most of us, to one degree or another. But for me, I would say, go back to what we've always said on these episodes, it's all about doing the work. The more we're doing the work on ourselves, the more consciously aware we are of how we're being and how we're doing, we can catch that ego as you did in that example, in that car. 1 minute you like, and the next thing you think, oh, hold on a minute, what am I doing?
What's the point?
Yeah. And that was that battle, and you obviously you won it, which was good for you. But in certain situations, you've heard of loads of stories of people getting killed on the motorways and people getting ranting and raving and having fights and this and that, or marriages or relationships, and that was the cause of it. But the root cause that most people don't identify
is working
with themselves. But the root cause of it was that person's ego in the first place. Person thinks that I'm better than you. So I can give an example. My ex thought she was better than me, so she went off with somebody else, and then it turned out that the someone else wasn't that great. So when I look back, not as in like ha, but in awareness, that was ego driven. How can you think that you're better than someone else if you're not working on yourself to be better than someone else, to become a better person? So the only thing that can be driving that is your ego. Yeah. And so to bring this thing down for a landing, D, I just want to make it plain, not just to myself, but to everyone watching this, that we need to home in on that ego. We need to get a grip of it. Because if we don't, it's going to get a grip of us, and then it's going to be in the detriment to us and everybody around us.
And other people. Yeah.
And everybody around us.
Yeah.
So that's it for me, man.
Wow. Another topic which hopefully we can resonate with and we can all talk about, and as Erwin said, make comments to, because the more comments that we get back in relation to the topics we speak about and the subject matter, it's important we can get it over to everyone.
Yeah.
That there's a way to control it.
Definitely.
No matter what it may be, there is a way to control what we have inside us, whether that be hurt, anger, ego, hate, love, whatever it could be.
Yeah.
We can all resonate with those things. So it's so important. Please, 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 don't stop making those comments. And what was your friend's name? Sorry? Lorraine, thank you.
Yeah.
And for anyone else out there, thank you. Keep these comments coming, because these topics are so important.
And also, just like Lorraine did, tell us what you want us to discuss and talk about. And we will do, as we've done with Lorraine's comment.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So, time to say, please, please, please subscribe. Please like, and of course, please share amongst friends. Until next time, bye from me.
Be seeing you.